One of my favorite authors is the Pennsylvania-born Dean Koontz. While he may never be as widely recognized as Stephen King, his books are still some of the best horror thrillers out there. Many of his books have been adapted to film, but unlike King, they usually had a minuscule budget and didn't get made the way that they should. Right now, Hollywood is taking just about everything and putting it in the recycling bin. I think this is a perfect time to update the Koontz movie adaptations, only to do them well this time. So here are 5 Dean Koontz book-to-movie adaptations that could really use a do-over. First up is Servants of Twilight. Some of the other books I'm going to be mentioning would need a bigger budget in order to pull them off, but this one, it wouldn't cost a fortune to do. Knowing Hollywood's Gillette, it would probably still cost about $10 million to do, but still that's much cheaper and much easier for them to get a return on investment these days. The movie was released in 1991, and it was based off of the book The Servants of Twilight, which was from 1988. While the movie wasn't particularly terrible, it just wasn't nearly as good as the book. The book is about this woman and her son that are being chased by this religious cult called the Twilight. They believe that her son is the Antichrist. The book was really intense, it was very well done, and the ending is very ambiguous. It kind of leaves everything up to your imagination as to what actually happens. But in the movie, they for some reason felt the need to spell the whole thing out for you. So while the book, it left it up to your imagination, and that's something that you'll sit down and think about, and you'll be like, what happened? I don't know if it's this or if it's this. I don't want to spoil it, but in the movie, it's like, hey, guess what? It's this, and you can just stop thinking about it altogether. Watchers is a 1988 movie that was adapted from Koontz's 1987 book. The movie, even though it changed one of the main characters completely, it still was entertaining. It was good, but you could tell that they had a tiny budget. The book was about a special forces operative that is exploring a canyon near his house, and he runs into this golden retriever that is super duper intelligent. And the dog is being chased by this monster, and it's trying to kill the dog. And so the guy gets away, and he meets up with this woman, and between the two of them and the dog, they're constantly on the run from this monster. And then on top of that, to make matters worse, they're being chased by an assassin. The movie changes the main character. Instead of it being an ex-military guy, it is high school kid Corey Haim. And the woman in the movie is his mother. And then the kid, his mom, and the dog are all on the run from the monster and the assassin. The only real problem with the movie is that you don't see the monster very much, and when you do, you don't want to see it because it looks not all that believable. And it's kind of a shame because the movie moves along at a really good pace. The dog in it is fantastic. You can't not love the dog in the movie. He really helps to make the movie, believe it or not. The movie has 3 sequels, so it did well enough on home video that it was able to spawn off that many sequels. But it's a shame because it's like, if there's enough interest in the movie for it to have 4 direct-to-video releases, then maybe if you invested a decent-sized budget into this, that you could actually make a really, really good movie. There's not much that they need to change to do it right. Just up the special effects budget and good actors and a good dog. Hideaway is a 1995 movie that was based off of the 1992 book Hideaway. And while the movie had some really good actors in it, it ended up just being a mess. The director was Brett Leonard, who did The Lawnmower Man. And while I love The Lawnmower Man, what he did with the movie adaptation Hideaway was throw in an overwhelming amount of unnecessary CGI. And back in 1995, the CGI just wasn't there yet, especially with the budget that they had. So they just could not pull off all the effects that they wanted to do and make them look realistic. They just looked awful. The book was about an antiques dealer who was clinically dead for more than 80 minutes, and he was resuscitated, and because of that has this link to a killer who is this kid who believes that he is a living demon, and he has to murder enough people in order to be allowed to return to hell. And the movie was just hokey. The movie had really good actors. You had Jeff Goldblum, you had Alicia Silverstone, you had Alfred Molina, you had Ray Don Chong. The movie adaptation was just a mess. It didn't work. Hideaway was so bad that Dean Koontz actually tried to have them take his name off of the movie because they were pushing it as Dean Koontz's Hideaway, and he just hated the movie so much he wanted them to remove his name from it. They could redo it and it wouldn't cost them a fortune. They wouldn't need all the special effects that they did in this version. Even if they wanted to do all the CGI special effects, they could do stuff now that would look way better than it did back in 1995. They could even bring Jeff Goldblum back and try to just do a straight-up do-over. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Whispers is a 1990 movie that was based off of the novel from 1980. It's about a guy who's chasing a woman who believes that she is possessed by the spirit of his dead mother. Whispers wasn't a terrible movie, but it was just mediocre. It's a shame because the book is so good, and to have such a good book become such a mediocre movie, they definitely need to do it over. The last on the list is the 1998 movie Phantoms, which was based off of Koontz's novel Phantoms from 1983. This is not only my favorite Koontz book, but this is one of my favorite books ever. I absolutely loved it. I read it when I was a teenager, and I've read it again over the years, and it's just incredible. When they announced that they were making a movie about it, I got very excited, and it starred a very unknown at the time Ben Affleck. It's kind of funny, if they were to make it now, they probably would have been able to get quadruple the budget, but back in 1998, Ben Affleck was still more or less unknown. The book is about these two sisters that return home to their town in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and when they get there, they find that no one in the town is there. Everyone is gone. As they start to kind of investigate the town, they start to find bodies. Then the bodies disappear. Then they find really weird stuff going on. Everything seems like the town almost seems to be messing with them. As they investigate further, they run into a couple of police who help them to investigate, and there's messages found around the town, and it's incredible. The movie adaptation, it was good, but it just did not have the budget to pull off what they needed to do. When the special effects really needed to kick in and really needed to have that punch and look believable, they just didn't do it, especially the ending. The ending in the book was huge. Oh my God, the ending. And in the movie, wow, did they fuck it up. They dialed it back so much. They just didn't have the money to pull off what they wanted to do. And there's no way with the budget that they had that they could have done the ending that they did in the book without it looking like complete garbage. So out of all of these, and a lot of other Dean Koontz books, take them, give them the proper attention that they deserve. Give them a good director, give them a good cast, give them a good budget, and you'll get the return on your investment. It shouldn't be that difficult. Look at the Harry Potter movies. They're very good books, and they get adapted into movies, and they're very good movies because they actually put the time and the money and the directors and whatnot behind them, and you get a billion-dollar franchise. With some of the Dean Koontz books, it should be a no-brainer. I just don't understand why his books just don't get the adaptations that they deserve. It's not like he's a nobody. He's got multiple bestsellers under his belt, and he's even tied with John Grisham as the 6th highest paid author in the world. They just don't give Koontz the support that he deserves. It's a damn shame. And one day I hope that these books get adapted into movies and they are made into the amazing movies that they deserve to be.